Hello, and welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Tally. The mission and the goal of this podcast is to bring an engaging conversation that will add value to the lives of everyday people. We will inspire, encourage, educate, and tell the stories of America's finest men and women in an effort to motivate you to live your life to its fullest potential. Be sure to follow us on social media and search Tuesdays with Tally. Be sure to subscribe, follow, and share the program as well. And now your host, Brian Tally.
Welcome back to Tuesdays with Tally Podcast, where we add real-life value to the lives of everyday people. Be sure to follow us on social media and on Spotify. The online information and handles are all located on the scrolling ticker at the bottom portion of your screen. We are on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Anchor FM, and Spotify. Simply search Tuesdays with Tally and be sure to like, share, and subscribe to get every episode and stay up to date with the latest and greatest our guest in this show has to offer. Now, folks, today we proudly celebrate day 120 of this brand new podcast, and today is episode 85. We are nearly putting out an episode a day right now, and every single one of our guests have been tremendous people, some of America's finest men and women. And again, to offer real life value, everybody has value to be added, and I'm finding that value in people, and we are sharing it throughout this program and throughout this platform. Now, I'm talking to you right now. Are there any business owners out there who have merchandise or gear or services or events that they're trying to promote? Well, advertise your business right here on this podcast. Let me help you reach your goals. Let's put a marketing plan together and develop a strategy to take your business to the next level. I want to thank our show sponsor today, Chris Whittemore. He is the author of Terror to Triumph. Now, Chris is a Marine Corps veteran, combat veteran, and also a scout sniper. He's recently written this book, Terror to Triumph. Go get it today. It's available everywhere books are sold online. Now, this book is based on a true story about the Battle of Ramadi as seen through the lenses of a Marine Scout sniper. This is a boots-on-the-ground perspective of war and coming home after war. Now, again, like I said, go out and do a quick Google search, Chris Whittemore, Terror to Triumph, and get it in your shopping cart today. If you do that today, it will be under your Christmas tree in time for Christmas. This is an awesome book. Again, for Christmas presents, for birthday presents, perhaps your neighbor, your friend, or really any military veteran or active duty service member. And you'll be supporting a great American and a U.S. Marine veteran. Folks, we have a very special guest joining us on today's program. And this is probably going to be one of the most difficult and hardest podcasts that I've done out of the 85. Charles Strange is the founder of the Michael Strange Foundation and the father of Petty Officer First Class Michael Strange, who was killed in action on August 6th of 2011 when Extortion One-Seven, Extortion 17 was shot down in Afghanistan, which was the greatest loss of life in the war on terror. Petty Officer First Class Michael Strange was born and raised in Philadelphia. After graduating from North Catholic High School in 2004, he enlisted in the United States Navy. Michael went to basic training in the Great Lakes, then was sent to the Center for Information Dominance in Pensacola, Florida, where he began studying cryptology. After graduating at the top of his class, he was stationed in Hawaii, where he began working with a West Coast SEAL team and was deployed to Iraq. Upon returning in 2009, he was stationed in Virginia Beach with an East Coast SEAL team. Michael served several tours in Afghanistan, providing critical intelligence to his team. On June 6th of 2011, Michael came home to Philadelphia, where he celebrated his 25th birthday with family and friends. And just 2 short months later, on August 6th of 2011, Michael and 30 members of his team were killed in action when an RPG struck their Chinook over Wardak Province in Afghanistan. It was the largest loss of life in Operation Enduring Freedom and the War on Terror. After the loss of his son, Charles Strange was paralyzed with grief. As the weeks and months passed, he often thought that he was losing his mind in sorrow, then slowly came to realize that he was in a club that nobody wants to be in, and that's losing a child. He began to reach out to other families who had suffered similar losses. After talking to other parents who had lost a child in war, he recognized that these parents needed each other to get through these difficult days. Being able to pick up a phone and hearing a voice on the other end that understood completely all of the emotions that he was feeling and was a catalyst to begin a foundation for the families of our fallen service members, which led to the creation of the Michael Strange Foundation. Over the past several years, families from across the United States gather for a weekend retreat remembering their loved ones, talking with other families, meeting with counselors, and bonding over their shared losses. These strangers all became friends and family. They work through their pain and sorrow together. While the loss remains great, their friendships, love, and support offer a small piece of comfort to the broken hearts of Gold Star families. Families attend the retreats at no cost to them. The funds are raised to cover family members, transportation, lodging, food, and counseling. Charles believes that all of these families have already paid the ultimate cost. With that, we are honored to be joined by Gold Star father, Charles Strange. How are you, sir?
Great. Thank you for having me on. I can't thank you enough, my friend.
Sir, your story, the story of your son, we can never forget what happened and why this all happened. And again, you are a catalyst for change. You are a positive catalyst for change. You have created this foundation, again, to bring those families together that are in need of desperate counsel and help, and to know that they're not alone, and that what you suffered is a tremendous loss, and you can never get that back. And again, sir, my sincerest condolences to you and all of those family members that were on board that Chinook 47 on the night of August 6th of 2011. That again was the largest life in the history of not only SEAL Team 6, but all the Navy SEAL teams, as well as the War on Terror.
Yes, the biggest loss of life, like you said, in the history of America. 22 of the 30 men were from Dev Group, Navy Special Warfare, and let's not forget Bart, the Warrior Dog. Mm-hmm. The dog handler was John Ducandero. His father, Sid, just had a statue, and Bart the Warrior Dog in Sioux, Iowa. They just did a beautiful memorial 4 days ago for Sid and his family. Sid's a personal friend. He's been on one of our weekends. The Michael Strange Foundation reaching out to other Gold Stars and families that, we started to bring in families that lost their sons and daughters to suicide after they came back from the Middle East. They didn't sign up for the military thinking about suicide, but when they came back after seeing what goes on in war, and wanting to be with their brothers and sisters that died, I don't know. But we brought them in for the weekends. Like you said, we've done 12 weekends, over 350 families. We pay for everything, the plane ticket, the hotel, the food. We have volunteers pick them up. It helps us so much. Besides the grief counselors, we have the parents talk. We ask them to write a letter Friday night about their son or daughter. Saturday morning, the counselor talks about a few things, why it's good to talk about it. And we have the parents read their letters about their sons and daughters that died and where they're from, what were their hobbies, how do you get through Christmas, what do you do on their birthday? And you hear all different, one guy makes a rocket to his son on his birthday and writes a letter. One guy goes to a mountain because it's the highest, close to heaven. Of course, the bottles. And so they all read. And you're in the room, Brian. Everybody knows. You don't have to explain yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an ambiance there. And, we Saturday night, we get together, and we always have a motorcycle crew, an MC crew, and the police and the firemen pick us up. And Saturday night, we stop somewhere, and we let go of the balloons, let go, let God. We'll see you on the other side. And or if we're by the ocean, we throw biodegradable wreaths into the ocean, and we have the taps players there and the motorcycles. And honor and remember. And then we go to a VFW post or an American Legion post and let them. We have a dinner and dance and DJ, and we learn, that our sons don't want us, although the Grim Reaper's no joke, especially now with the holidays, it turns that knife in our heart a little more. So through the foundation, like I just spoke to a Gold Star father this morning, yesterday, we all stay in touch and meet each other and help each other. And it's President Trump had us at the White House twice, asked me and my wife to bring 20 gold stars down in June 2017. And that was awesome. He said, Mr. Strange, you can go in the red room, green room, gold room. He had the Marine Corps band there, food, booze. He did a candle ceremony. President Trump stood up every time. He said one of our sons' names and daughters' names. Melania was unbelievable. And then he invited us back for Christmas dinner. And we bring these gold stars because we don't want our sons and daughters to be forgotten. We don't want them to think they died in vain. And everything going on today, Brian, freedom's not free. We do live in the greatest country in the world. Everybody wants to come to America. And, my son would have did it again. My son really took off through the military. Like you said, like we're so Philly, Brian. Me and my son used to run the Rocky Steps. You know what I mean? We are Philly.
And, you are all Philly.
Yes.
Totally.
And he loved what he did. He took off in SEAL Team 6. He was assigned to SEAL Team 6, the gold team. His call sign was GY4, Gold Yankee 4. And he had a special talent. They gave him the National Intelligence Medal of Valor, Brian. Only 17 been given out in the history of America since the Wind Talkers in WW2. Picking up codes and signals. He learned Arabic, Pashtun, and he was also part of killing Osama bin Laden.
Mm-hmm.
And he came home from that for his 25th birthday. And he was different, though, Brian. He grabbed me by the bicep. He said, Dad, you wouldn't believe what's going on in this country. And that was the first time, he started. And he mentioned a will. And a few of them other men mentioned a will, too. One guy put it in the freezer. One guy did something else different. So there's some evil people, I believe. Why would they kill 30 of our own guys? Well, follow the money, Brian. Follow the money. Follow everything coming, and I believe they're going to talk. And
now I want to interrupt you here for just a moment before we get started into all of the reasons why that this happened. Now, I want to know a little bit about your son, Michael Strange, the kid growing up in Philadelphia, and what would ultimately lead him to the Navy.
Well, he was here in Philadelphia. We live in row homes, the city of neighborhoods. He was in Port Richmond, which is near Fishtown. Went to an all-boys Catholic high school, North Catholic, which was the biggest all-boys Catholic high school at one time in the country. They are now closed. A lot of the Catholic high schools have closed in Pennsylvania. But he played football, basketball. He played rugby, and he worked at a corner bar in the neighborhood, Burnsy's Bar at Richmond and Westmoreland in Philadelphia. He delivered newspapers when he was in 8th grade. He was a hustler, and he loved to work out. He loved the gym, and he's our oldest of our children. He was the big brother anybody wanted. Michael would like his sister Caitlin. So Caitlin was in the park with three of her girlfriends, and she was 14, and the boys were 17. And Michael drug her out of the park, made her and her girlfriends get in the car, drive 4 miles away, and kicked them out of the car. And she's called me up on a payphone, right? This was 2008. And she said, Dad, Michael, Michael called. I said, good job, Michael. Give him away from them boys, you know. And Michael always cared for the underdog. You know, there was a fight in the parking lot at a convenience store. Two guys were beating the hell out of him, this guy. Beating him unmerciful. And I think they were about money, of course. And Michael jumped in. Mm-hmm. And he knocked the one guy out, and then he got on top of the other, and then the police pulled up with guns, and everybody that was watching, of course, nobody else jumped in, said, no, he saved that guy. So the police let Michael go, and he goes to a party down the street at Danny and Kevin's keg party, comes in the back door, he goes to the keg, gets a cup, he's sitting there talking, da-da-da-da-da, and somebody walks in the party, go, yo, that's the guy that jumped in and saved that guy. And Michael goes, nah, it wasn't me. You know, very humble. You know, the stories. Michael made everyone around him, like at his funeral. Bri, I must have had 20 or 30 guys come up to me. I was Michael's best friend. So that's the personality Michael had. You know, miss him every day. And it's hard, man. It's hard, you know, and that's what made him join the military. He didn't want to go to college, as smart as he was. He was going to do the 4 years, get out, get the GI Bill, get into nursing or whatever. That was the plan. And then in Hawaii, his first year in Hawaii, the SEALs started picking him up at his house. Mm-hmm. And they would take him up 3 stories and down, up 3 stories and down, then across to the beach, out to the buoy, then back, then into a pool. And he said, Dad, I thought they were going to kill me. He was in phenomenal shape. And they walked him into a gym. And the SEALs were all there. They were listening to headbanging music. They were doing jiu-jitsu and all that other stuff. And they were all wearing black sweatpants and stuff like that. He was wearing blue. I said, Michael, you were the mark. And they surrounded him. And they asked him to go to Dev Group, to the East Coast SEAL Team 6. And he called me up. And I said, Mike, you were going to do 4. You were going to get out. Come on, man, you know. And he's like, Dad, da-da-da-da-da. And they, you know, he bought a house when he was 21 years old down by the secret base in Virginia Beach. And he loved what he did. And we went down there, you know, me and my wife and his brothers and sisters would always drive down or take the train down and hang out with Michael. And he was developing, you know, he was in good shape, but after he got with them guys, his shoulders were like up here, bro. You know what I mean? He was, he didn't have big arms, but he was, you know, in good shape. Plus the cryptology and the code breaking. And that's when they put him, it was a tier 1 operator for the gold team.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I know he's a very, very intelligent man and quite the asset to these SEAL teams. He went from West Coast SEAL teams to serving overseas, coming home, working with the East Coast SEAL teams. And, you know, he had the privilege of serving with America's finest, you know, special operators. And again, his intelligence got him there. I mean, a cryptologist. You know, if you will. Now, when he went overseas now, okay, with SEAL Team 6, can you describe some of the missions that he was on that he would tell you about?
That he kept very close to the vest, right? So, you know, as a father, right, he would call, like, when we were with him in Virginia, right? So we went to P.F. Chang's. That was his favorite restaurant. And we're at his house. And he left in the morning. in a gym suit, like he was going to the gym. And they came home in a suit. I said, yo, what are you doing? He said, oh, I had a meeting. Next day, he leaves in something. He comes stressing. I went to the gym. I said, well, why didn't you take me? And we go to P.F. Chang's, and I'm trying to get information out of him, bro. I'm worried about him. What's going on? He looked great. He smiled at it. He said, Dad, you know who's sitting next to us? I look over. I said, it's a husband and wife. He goes, that's what you think. I said, oh, Michael, how deep are you in here, Michael? And we went outside, and he said, Dad, when you ask me questions, and I said, say, do the Phillies win? That means don't ask me any more questions, because they're listening in, and he can't, he don't want to slip up and tell me something. And that was our code. Did the Phillies win? So
no, this is when he was home on leave. He was telling you this?
Yes, in P.F. Chang's down in Virginia. And April 2011, before the Bin Laden raid, he called me up and he said, Dad, you're not going to hear from me for 2 weeks. Everything's getting shut down. And of course, I started asking him questions, Bri, and he goes, did the Phillies win? I said, Michael, what's going on? He goes, well, if something happens, you're going to hear about it. And of course, May 2nd, 2011, the killing of Osama bin Laden and the raid, all that stuff over there. And that's when he came home, and it was his birthday. And so, but that's when he grabbed me by the arm. He said, you won't believe what's going on, Dad, in this country. And I mean, he was like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, Mike, he was never like that.
Right.
And for him to mention a will, why would you mention a will? Then I was really nuts, and he went and told my sister, his mom, his brother, his sister, his friends. And 93 days after the Bin Laden raid, 30 guys get killed and then dog. And there was 8 Afghans on the helicopter, Brian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they were not on the manifest.
Now, again, your son was a top cryptologist, and he served with SEAL Team 6. And again, on the Osama bin Laden raid in 2011. 3 months later, on August the 6th of 2011, Michael was killed in Afghanistan, killed in action with 30 other service members, a military dog, and 8 Afghan. Total lost life, 38 plus 1 military service dog. Now, after this happened, he comes home on leave. And I want to peel this onion back a little bit. He came up to you and said, what's going on in this country? You'll never really, know what's going on. And then he started using these code words with you. And this is a smart man. This is a guy who knows a lot of languages. He's a cryptologist. He's a tremendous asset. Again, his intelligence is through the roof. And why would he be saying any of this stuff to his father, who is ultimately his best friend, and talking about wills, when he's home, celebrating leave? Was there ever a red flag that went up when you're talking to your son? And did you ever sit him down and say, son, father to son here, why are you talking about wills and all of this other stuff? And why would you mention what's going on in this country? You'll never really understand it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I tried. It was June 6, 2011. It was actually his birthday. And we had a giant party, 3 kegs of beer, 60 people, all his friends, family. And even there, he was talking about it. I got him outside by himself. And I'm like, Mike, what are you talking? He's like, he just shook his head. I can't tell you, Dad. I can't tell you. I said, what do you mean you can't tell me? You mentioned your will. All of a sudden, you know what I mean? And next thing you know, and even in that weekend, bro, he never left early. He never left Philadelphia early to drive back to Virginia. And the party was Saturday, June 6th. And that Sunday, he stopped in Fishtown in Philadelphia at my sister's home and told her about a will. And she's like, what are you talking about, Michael? Why would you say that? And he kept it close to the vest. And, I don't know, something's, and you look now, right, Brian, 2011, my son was killed. And you look what's going on now in this country, statues being taken down, our country being burned all over the place. All this stuff going on, the Chinese virus, was he talking about that? Was he talking about all the money that's going from here to there to who, he knew. If anybody knew, he would know, you know what I mean? And so the question still stands. I don't know. We've been fighting with Washington, D.C. to try to get answers. He dies August. We have the funeral down in Philadelphia at the cathedral. Beautiful. 2,000 people show up. Flags half-mast. Then we buried him in Arlington. 17 of the 30 men are in Arlington. And then October 2011, we go down to Little Creek, Virginia for the investigation report. All 60 parents. And I'll tell you what, we're at the hotel, and my wife leaves a letter at the front desk. And she says, anybody from Extortion 17 want to meet us 7 o'clock at night from Extortion 17? And we get there, and there's like 18 parents. And I talk to the hotel. I bought a conference room. I tell them what's happening. Yeah. And all the parents had a different, angle, what happened. Some parents were told they flew into a mountain. Some people said that this, and some people said that. And the next morning we get up and they got a bus for us to take us to Little Creek in Virginia to hear General Jeffrey Colt, who did the investigation in 2 weeks, Brian. 2 freaking weeks he did an investigation, 30 guys dying. And he talked, when we get there, and he talked about the pilots. And God bless the parents, Sam Carter, very, very decorated pilot, flew in Iraq many a times, but the other pilot never flew in Afghanistan. And it was a whole rest job. And then General Colt says that the helicopter was coming in, and in the pitch dark, 100 yards in the pitch dark, an RPG hits the rotary on the blade. It was a lucky shot. Bri, he said, lucky shot. I stood up. I said, what that is wrong with you? Did you just say, all our sons are dead? And a couple people grabbed me. Some military people grabbed me. And it was a real horse and pony show. But at the end of that, they gave us a folder. And you don't look at the folder because you're hearing about how your son died. They told us because of the fuselage that everybody was burned beyond recognition. It was in the newspapers all over the world. Nancy Campbell from the Navy. I forget the other guy. It's in my book. And 38 skulls and 38 C-spines. Only identifiable remains, which was a lie. And so we get home, I open this folder up, and there's 25 pages, and you can read the first page, you can read a little bit of the second page, and then as you open it up, Bri, there's no ink, there's no toner. You can't read nothing. And there's a disc in there. So I called up Admiral Sean Pybus, Commander-in-Chief of CENTCOM. I said, Sean, I got a bad copy here. He said, I know, Charlie, I got a lot of complaints about that. I said, well, send me a new one. He said, I can't. We burned it. You burned it? You burned it in 3 months? But that disc, which one of the parents told me they were going to ask back for, you put it in the computer, and Bri, all these little black boxes pop up, like 200 of them, these little black things. And you click nothing. After 8 hours, my wife figures out how to download it. 1,364 pages come out. But the disk was encrypted with a virus. And that's when the NSA started tapping our phones, went into our computer. I was getting 001 on my phone, 000. And I called Verizon. I said, I keep getting these text messages. And then the guy from Verizon said, you don't know who that is? I said, no. He goes, that's Big Brother watching you. And then my wife's on the computer. We didn't have a camera on our computer. And they took her picture, Bri. She starts screaming. I come running out of the room. I said, they took your, how'd you get your picture up there? She goes, they took my picture. And it said FBI, 10 to 12 years in prison. And that was on local news here in Philadelphia, 3, 6, and 10. And that's when we went against the NSA and Barack Hussein Obama in Washington, D.C., the third highest court in America. Judge Leon, he called it Orwellian. The lawyer for the NSA and Barack Hussein Obama was Mr. Gilligan, who was also, and he gets up there, he said, oh, the Gold Star parents, their son was an American hero, they're going through grief, we don't spy on people, da-da-da-da-da. Our lawyer stands up and says, good morning, Judge Leon. He holds up the newspaper. He said, in the Washington Post 10 days ago, 12 employees from the NSA fired for spying on their spouses. And then Judge Leon threw the hammer down. He said, find me one time spying on an American people that you stopped a terrorist attack. And they couldn't find nothing. They're looking through it. And then we won the case. Obama talks about us before he goes on vacation, about the NSA spying on the American people and the Gold Star family. Then we go back to Washington, D.C. This time, the second highest court in the country, Bri. 3 judges. We win the case that they're tapping my phone, going on my computer. All this, Bri, because I'm asking questions. What happened to my son? And what they did was change, and Edward Snowden's lawyer was there. And what they did was change the law. They're allowed to go on your computer and go on your cell phones. And so it's been, a nightmare. But these 1,364 pages, my wife, Marianne Strange, downloaded, talks about, how the Taliban knew there was IEDs around the landing site, 30 Taliban under the trees with night vision goggles, RPGs. There was guys on the roof, Bri. They knew. How did they get all them guys in that helicopter? Well, the call was that the Rangers were pinned down. That's what was on all the televisions. I mean, it was all over the world. And then that was all the 30 men died for a rescue mission for the Rangers. But then the Rangers came out, Brian. They said, we weren't in any trouble. We had 6 of the Taliban caught. So then the next narrative they came out with was they were after Quarry Tahir, a high-value target. Mm-hmm. So, but in them 1,300 pages, Quarry Tahir knew. He knew village to village. So a lot of questions. Nobody's held accountable for the biggest loss of life in the history of America. Nothing will bring my son back, Bri, but me and my wife will never stop asking questions. We had a press conference 2012 in Washington, D.C. at the National Press Club. We had Alan West, General Boykin, General Valet, 22 of the Gold Star families from Extortion 17. We had a Navy SEAL or 2. There was cameras. There had to be 80 cameras from every TV network in the world. Obama said, don't play it or you lose your press passes to the Pentagon. That's how big this is, Brian.
Charles, I want to jump in here. I have a lot of questions for you. I have a lot of questions. Now, look, when your son came home on leave, I think that right there is a turning point in this story. And that was 2 months prior to his death, to the day of the 6th. June 6th to August 6th. There was something there that he knew was going on, and he was trying to let you know in a roundabout way that something was not right. Do you feel perhaps that he could have had some sort of paranoia? I mean, he was in on the bin Laden raid. Do you think it was perhaps, again, paranoia, or was this a very real case of him trying to counter a possible assassination on his life?
I believe he was trying to counter. I believe them men. I mean, some of them guys, Brian, Jonas, Lou Langley, 14 years with SEAL Team 6. Jonas, 10 years. These men were you don't get every SEAL I've met, and I've met probably a couple hundred of them, close to 1,000. They all try to get to SEAL Team 6.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so for these guys to be on 6 for that long of a time, and then for them guys to send out signals to their family members that something's wrong here, somebody's trying to set us up. I believe a lot was going on in Afghanistan with Karzai, the contractors over there. We have a big investigation about the contractors there. My lawyer said we're allowed to talk about it. Some bad actors over there. And Brian, them cock 20 years in Afghanistan, brother. It's the same. It's about the same size as Texas. We're the strongest military in the world. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I want to say one thing real quick, and this is very important. There was a C-130 above the Chinook with a girl by the name of Joni, Joni Marquez, and she came out publicly. She was on Fox News probably 5 times, a few other media stations. She asked to open up fire 6 times from her C-130. I mean, they could hit somebody from Philadelphia to California, right? She got denied because of the rules of engagement. She yelled, do not send them in there. The Taliban are there waiting. Who made that call? Poor Joni Marquez.
Yeah, so the kill chain. So she was ready to engage on that C-130 Hercules gunship, and obviously that kill chain did not go through to the naval JAG, and therefore that kill chain was probably denied, which led to this ambush, if you will. Now, there again, I have so many unanswered questions, and I really do believe that the nation has so many unanswered questions. Now, folks, we are being joined by Charles Strange. He is the founder of the Michael Strange Foundation. His son, Petty Officer First Class Michael Strange, was killed in the line of duty, killed in action on August 6th, 2011 in what they call Extortion One-Seven, the greatest loss of life in the 20-year war on terror. And not only that, it was the greatest single incident loss of life in the history of the U.S. war on terror, the special operations community, as well as SEAL Team 6 in the history of the Navy SEALs. So this was definitely something that the Taliban celebrated, because this was, again, this was a major win for the Taliban. And again, and they celebrated this loss of life because they felt as if they were winning. They just took out some of America's finest. And now we are left to pick up the pieces. Now, I have a question. Who gave the Taliban this intelligence? I mean, that CH-47 Chinook was shot down from 250 feet. Was shot down from 250 feet. It was escorted by a C-130. And I want to know, do you believe, I want to know your opinion now, was the father of your son being killed in action, was this a setup?
Brian, absolutely, 100%. In them 1,300 pages, there was 3 eyes in the sky, sensors. You know what Jeffrey Colt that did Brigham Dear Jeffrey Colt that did the investigation? You know what he said? They had a glitch in them. They all went out at the same time.
But why? What's the motivation here between the United States of America setting up these men? These. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, what would be the underlying question? Is it a part because those were the men? The majority of those men were involved on the Bin Laden raid.
Was it that, or was it Bin Laden for them? I mean, if in the Quran, it talks about trading, and it also talks about the money and everything that's going on coming out of Afghanistan. Before we raided Afghanistan, the poppy, which you can Google this, in 2000, before we went into Afghanistan, we would get like 20% of the poppy from Afghanistan. Now, Brian, if you Google, we get 90% of the poppy from Afghanistan. Brian, we don't have that many people on morphine.
Well, we are in a massive opioid crisis, as we speak as well. And that's,
And I believed that Michael and them were going to talk about, I think it was going to come out, about the rules of engagement. That was huge. How, they've never been changed that many times in the history of America. Bush changed them too, but nobody changed the rules of engagement more than Barack Hussein Obama. Let's face it. It's written down in the history books, and then with the contractors making hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars over there, Bri. Who has stock in all them contracting companies? The congressmen and senators lining their pockets on the blood of our sons and daughters. I believe Michael and them were somebody was going to bring it to light from that crew of men. Like, enough's enough, I really believed one of them were going to stand up, or a bunch of them were going to stand up. Like, this is baloney going on over here. Like, this is bad stuff. Like, the Afghan people know, you know what I mean? Like, they've been there for thousands of years. You're not going to change them. They said America can build a clock and we got the time. They don't care. It's their, you seen what they did to Russia. You know what I mean? So I believe Michael and them men on that helicopter were going to speak out about the corruption going on in this country from Washington, D.C.
They were definitely involved in a lot of, top secret type missions. And he knew things that the average Joe would never know. I mean, again, being a cryptologist, you are involved on every level of communication there, from the top to the very bottom and then back up again. I mean, as high as you can go. Now, the Department of Defense was not transparent with you, as well as the other 30 or the other 29 service members that were killed in action with their next of kin. The death reports were blank. They had burned a lot of these files. Now, what I want to know is that if the government was doing this and they were trying to hide information from you and 29 others, why do you believe, one, they did that, and two, do you sincerely believe that you were being watched and spied on by the NSA? And if so, why?
Number one reason was because of the 1,364 pages that came out, Bri, about the IEDs being around the land. It's like all three cameras, the eye in the sky, have a glitch in them. Also, like, the other big fact is that, they found bullet casings from our guys. That means our men went out shooting. That's in the 1,364 pages. Why would they cremate my son? I called Dover, Brian, a couple months later. I got the autopsy, and he wasn't burned at all, Brian. He had a gun in his hand. His ankle was almost over. He was like this. He was alive for 15 minutes, Brad. That's my nightmare. I talked to Joni Marquez, the girl in the C-130. You know, she's and she goes through her trauma to see all them men get massacred like that and killed. It's
Do you believe that one of those Afghans on board could have given inside information to the Taliban on where that Chinook was headed?
Absolutely. About 4 minutes before the helicopter took off, 8 Afghans got off the helicopter, 8 other Afghans got on. Who allowed that? Their names weren't on the manifest. When we were in Dover, when all the 38 bodies were coming in, they brought the Afghan bodies back. They had their coffins flagged with the Afghan flag. They actually told us they don't know who they are. They had to call the Afghan people up and say, we called you. It's the wrong people. They told us that in person right at Dover. Barack Hussein Obama came up to me in Dover. We're in the hangar. All the parents, you're out of your mind, bro. You see all them coffins? People were dropping. He dropped. You know what I mean? It takes your heart. That was a piece of my heart, my son. And Obama came up to me. I didn't see him. And he grabbed me by the shoulders. He said, Michael changed the way America lived. Michael was the greatest. And I grabbed Obama by the shoulders, bro. I said, I don't need to know about my son. I need to know what happened. And he went like this. And then the Secret Service guys grabbed me. And I go outside and they give me a water and da-da-da-da-da. About 20 minutes later, I come back in. Leon, the Snake Panetta, he comes up to me. He says, I'm going to ask the same questions as you, Mr. Strange. I said, you're the Secretary of Defense. What are you talking about? I'm a construction worker. I don't know nothing about the military. I just know something's wrong here. And then a couple of the other fathers started screaming. And then they took me outside again. And then whenever there was an event, we don't get invited. Me and my wife don't get invited to any events anymore. But in the beginning, we did. We all be at the hotel. They have a bus come up to get the gold stars. And 4 guys would come up to me and my wife. And they go, no, Mr. and Mrs. Strange, you come with us. And they would put us in a black SUV. They didn't want us talking to the other parents. And then eventually we started sending out the 1,300 pages to these other Gold Star families. Saying, because they were saying, how do you know all this information? How do you know? The Taliban was bragging a half hour after they killed my son and all them guys, a half hour over the internet.
Oh, yeah. They were celebrating this as a win, as a tremendous win for them.
How did they know who was in the helicopter? Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
So there's so many unanswered questions. We've been fighting for a congressional hearing. We're still not done, Brian. We're still not done. I'll never stop asking questions. I don't care. I had a guy from the military come up to me. He said, Mr. Strange, you could be on your cell phone right here. I could be 2 blocks away. I hear everything you say, every text message you get. I said, you're going to hear this. You're going to hear my fist going right through your teeth. You know.
Why are you being watched? Why is the NSA so involved in what you're doing? Do you believe that the Obama administration ordered this?
Someone from the Obama administration definitely had something to do with it.
But why you? Are there other 29 other families out there who their loved ones on August 6, 2011 in Extortion 17? Are they being watched too? Are their phones being tapped? Or do they have people on them that follow them and that are concerned about
I'm sure there is, but we're the only ones, like the NSA case. You could Google Judge Leon NSA case. You'll see our name pop up. We're the only ones that were the phone and our computer. And like I said, it was on channel 3, 6, and 10 here in Philadelphia when they took a picture of my wife sitting at the computer, and we don't have a camera on our phone. They binged it, Bri.
Well, you are the one that found this 1,600-page report.
Right, 1,364.
So you got the information they did not want you to have. And by you having this information that they didn't want you to have, they didn't want this getting out. And so they did everything in their power to protect them, right? To protect the feds, and were using or were maybe setting up ways to silence you and to get that information back. Now, when you start to connect the dots here, this is absolutely frightening.
Absolutely. To go after a Gold Star family, to disrespect the Gold Star family, it's and not to give us a congressional hearing. It's so big. Do you remember Congressman Jason Chaffetz from Utah?
I do.
So we go to his office, like 8 of the Gold Stars, and we ask for a congressional hearing. So we end up getting 56 of the families writing in questions. 2 weeks before, Chaffetz says, all the parents can ask questions except for you, Mr. Strange. We go crazy in the Rayburn building in DC. And then a week before, he said, none of the parents can ask questions. The Congress will ask it. And none of the Congress people read the questions except for from Florida, Micah. He read the questions. He hammered them. Gary Reed, who was Chuck Hagel's right-hand man, no good SOB. Brian, I got to grab my cord to plug in my computer here real quick, all right?
Yes, sir.
1 second.
Yes, sir. We are being joined by Charles Strange. He is the founder of the Michael Strange Foundation. His son was killed in action in Afghanistan in Extortion One-Seven, Extortion 17, that killed 30 U.S. service members, a U.S. military service dog, and 8 Afghans that were all on board that CH-47 Chinook were all lost. And it was the greatest loss of life on the war on terror. Michael Strange, his son, was a top cryptologist, was with SEAL Team 6 on the Osama bin Laden raid in 2011. Now, 3 months later, on August 6th, he was killed in action. And there has been a lot of questions that have never been answered. And there has been a scuttlebutt of perhaps a conspiracy that is involved here. Really, at the end of the day, this Gold Star father, Charles Strange, has acted as about as brave and courageous one could ever do, on behalf of a son. This is a father on a mission. This is a father that wants his questions to be answered. And he deserves these questions, especially when you don't have the transparency coming in through the DOD to figure out why this happened and what were the warning signs here. Well, he had plenty of them, but he just didn't know because his son was an honorable man who did not give up top secret type information. So back now to Michael or to Charles Strange. Now, there's been scuttlebutt about this being a complete conspiracy here. And again, you have not had your question answered. You have not had your day in court per se.
Right.
Now, what's next? What's going on right now with this case?
Well, President Trump, when he had us at the White House, I gave him some of them 1,300 pages. He actually took them out of my hand and read them, Bri. We were in a private room, me and my wife and him and the First Lady. And he was like, oh, my God. And then he said to me after reading them, he said, can I keep these? I said, absolutely. And he gave them he goes to the Secret Service guy, make sure I get Mr. Strange's papers tonight. And that was June 2017. I guess December 2017, they opened up an investigation. But if you call the DOD or the DOJ and ask them about Extortion 17 and congressional hearing, they go, we're looking into it. Click. We're looking into it. Click. So, yeah, and these 1,300 pages, I just want to tell you, this is from my book, Relentless. But we have some of the 1,300 pages, right from the 1,300 pages. Brian, it says, General Colt asking, the next piece of reporting that I have fits in within the time frame from May 11th, 2011, and it's late May. There's no date on this, but it's blank, and it's the blank going. So it's, the report is brief. Again, it's out of the task force, and it says something to the effect that 100 Taliban plan to travel from the blank province through the Tangine Valley to possibly shoot down the coalition force aircraft. Right there in the book. They knew. I was in the military. I read this. You know when that is? 10 days after the Bin Laden raid. Where did my son die? The Tangine Valley. It says it right here. Mm-hmm. They knew. Nobody put up a red flag about that. I mean, Brian, come on, man. It was a setup. These are a bunch of, in my book, you'll see the 1,300 pages. Some of the questions that weren't answered about them landing. They get the 3-minute call from Extortion 17. There's a 13-minute lapse. It says in the third, what happened to Extortion 17? We haven't heard from them in 13 minutes. And then they come back with a minute left. 3 eyes in the sky all had a glitch in them. Does that sound familiar, Brian? All the lights went out, all the cameras went out.
Yeah.
You think that's a coincidence? Taliban under the trees, on the roof, IEDs around the landing site, the Tangine Valley, where they all died. It's not I don't use the word conspiracy theory, Brian. It's 1,300 pages the government gave me. This is the facts. Nobody's held accountable.
Right.
I don't want this to happen to anybody, but we don't need any more Gold Star moms and dads, brothers and sisters. This is bullshit with these guys, man. Somebody has to be held accountable.
Now, folks, for you guys out there today, you're like, well, what's Extortion 17? What's Extortion One-Seven? That was the call sign of the CH-47 Chinook. That is a call sign. And when Extortion 17 broke silence, they went completely silent for 13 minutes until they could find out what was going on with this down chopper. Again, that took the lives of all 30 U.S. service members on it. That would end up being the greatest loss of life in the war on terror and the U.S. Navy SEAL teams and SEAL Team 6 in the history of our country's, in the history of our nation's country. Now, you say, I don't believe in conspiracy theories when it's not a conspiracy. It's been proven to not be a conspiracy because I'm holding on to the very documents that were furnished by the Department of Defense through their investigation. But yet every media outlet that you go to, like Newsweek and USA Today and all these other ones that I was reading, they say, no, this was not a conspiracy. This was chance. And I quote Newsweek, chance. This was chance. This is war. And stuff like this happens. But again, you have found so much information about what had happened, about the circumstances, how the event, all of the events unfolded. And again, you started to connect these dots as a father, because at this point, you don't care. You lost your son, and that was your best friend, and that was your life. Whatever it takes to get to the bottom of this, because that's what your son would want you to do. You are a fighter, and you've proven that to be a fighter, just like your son was a fighter. and an honorable man. And I know you are an honorable man. I've known you for quite some time now. We've become friends. And you are such a champion now in the military and veteran community. The work that you're doing in the military and veteran community is, again, it's incredible. And to put yourself out there and to make yourself vulnerable every single day, that's not an easy walk, Charles. And you tour the country. You speak to Gold Star mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles, and you are there, again, as a symbol of hope and strength. And you're also there to be a tough guy. You are from Philly. And people from South Jersey and Philly, they don't put up with a lot of shit, especially when they know that they've been wronged. And that's why I believe they're trying to silence you, because you are the most powerful man in the room. And they don't like powerful constituents coming in and shutting down their meetings to speak truth, honesty, and transparency. Because let's face it, to the government, you are who they fear. And they should be fearing all of us, because we are the people. And again, to be a Gold Star father, you, out of all people, deserve transparency and accountability at the highest levels. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you get that information from, but the government, they owe that to you. Somewhere in the government, something happened and there was a ball dropped, or it was completely covered up, and you deserve to know this. And so do the other families that were all involved here. You have 30 service members. That's thousands of lives that these 30 service members touch. Thousands, between friends and family, and how everybody's connected in the SEAL teams and the special operations community and the Chinook community. And there are so many people involved here now who are still grieving the loss of this life. I mean, this is something that happened, has it been 11 years now?
Yes.
It's been 11 years. Now, folks, I want you to go out and purchase this book today by Charles Strange, the father of Michael Strange, who was killed in action in Extortion 17 on August 6th. It is called Relentless. Do a Google search and you will find this book everywhere books are sold online. And I can tell you right now, this is an incredible book. It's an incredible read. And you go to it and it says right there, Dad, I knew stuff. And I knew stuff was going on. And here we are right now, talking about it, trying to pick up the pieces. And again, to try to connect those dots that never came out of your son. He just kind of gave you an inkling of, hey, there could be some stuff going on. Here's my will, because I may not come home. Now, talk about sacrifice. When your son perhaps knew that he was going to be killed, and he still went back. He still went back to fight. That right there is the definition of a warrior, and that is the definition of a U.S. Navy cryptologist who worked hand in hand with the SEAL teams, who was there with his brothers and would not back down, not even an inch.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. You'll get it on Amazon. It's on Kindle now for $10, or on Amazon for $20. Charles' son, Michael Strange, was a top cryptologist and SEAL Team 6 member on the Osama bin Laden raid in 2011. 3 months later, August 6, 2011, Michael was killed in Afghanistan along with 29 other Americans on the call sign Extortion One-Seven. Charles has been seeking the truth about Michael's death for a decade and has gone to Congress, the Pentagon, and the White House. Simultaneously, he leads other Gold Star families to trying to find some peace. And then it says on the back, Dad, you'll never believe what's happening in this country. And it's in the book.
Incredible.
Check it out. It's an easy read. You're going to scratch your head afterwards. Most people can't put it down once they start it. It's like a 2-hour read. And if you don't feel like reading, it's on Kindle for $9.99. We could use some help. And if you want to help out the foundation, you want to pay for a Gold Star family to come for a weekend, man, MichaelStrangeFoundation.org. We got PayPal. The website's old. That's a whole nother story. We're getting that revamped up in the next few months. Michael Strange Facebook, you'll see videos. Michael Strange YouTube, you'll hear the testimony of the Gold Star parents that have been through our weekends. We've done them in Pennsylvania, Wildwood, New Jersey, Ocean City, Maryland, Washington, D.C., Lenox, Mass., Tucson, Arizona, Longmont, Colorado. Longmont, Colorado. We've done 12 weekends. It helps meeting other Gold Star moms, dads, brothers, and sisters. We don't have to explain ourselves. And we open the Bible up and how beautiful heaven is. And that's where our sons and daughters are. John 15:13. There is no greater love. Psalm 23, I know Michael broke bread at the top. And I know he'd do it again to fight for truth and justice for the American way, for our freedoms. And there's just some bad deep state characters that follow the money. 20 years in Afghanistan, all the deaths, Iraq, Afghanistan, Africa, you're talking close to 8,000 killed in action. Everybody had a mom and dad, that's 16,000. Everybody had a grandmom and grandfather, that's another 16,000. Everybody had 4 brothers and sisters, that's another 32,000. Everybody had 5 best friends, that's another 40,000. The list goes on how this affects us. And for our freedoms, man, our freedoms, and they're being taken away today, Bri. Tonight we got Navy SEAL William Brown speaking tonight in Philadelphia at my buddy Joe Santucci's Pizza Parlor. Check out William Brown. He's the Navy SEAL that started to swim across the Hudson River. August 6th, we were there. 250 SEALs swam across the Hudson River. They swam to the Statue of Liberty, Bride. They did 100 push-ups, 22 pull-ups on a barge. Then they jumped back in the Hudson River, swam to Ellis Island, another barge, did another 100 push-ups, 22 pull-ups, and then, of course, where the Twin Towers are. And then these men here I talk to, they come out. They know it's a setup. Some of them men work for the CIA. They just shake their head. They know, you know what I mean? The FBI, Washington, D.C., the criminals down there, somebody needs to be held accountable. At least tell us what happened, you know what I mean? Don't tell us it was a lucky freaking shot. You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, you can't say it's chance. You can't say it's chance. We need more than that, and again, you need and you deserve the answers to your pretty simple questions that you have asked over the years. And if anybody knows government cover-up and lack of transparency, it's me. Because I went through it on a different stage, a whole lot a different stage than you went through, but still nonetheless, government cover-up and government lack of transparency and literally stacking the deck against our nation's heroes is something my man. And so look, your son was one of the good ones. I'm talking one of our nation's best. And I'm so sorry about what has happened to you and how it's changed the course of your life forever, Charles. And I do sincerely and genuinely grieve with you and your family still to this day. We will never forget what happened. And I pray that one day we can get to the bottom of this and the American people and you and all those other families can get the answers that you deserve. Now, in closing, I want to close with how you start. Folks, let go, let God. See you on the other side. Gold Yankee 4. Thank you for joining us today, Charles.
Thank you for having me, Brad. Thank you for your inspiration, man, what you did with the VA. Thank you. That really, me and my wife were talking about what the battle you went. That gives us inspiration. And you'll hear about us in about another 2 weeks. We just won a big, huge case in Washington, D.C. with 300 Gold Star families about their contractors.
Good for you. Good for you, because You are a tremendous champion, and you are doing the work. You are doing the work that nobody else wants to do, and you're doing it in an honorable way. And like I told another advocate on here not long ago, it's that walk. And once you do this honorably, you will start to have people follow you in your footsteps, and and this train will continue to get longer and longer and longer. But that walk is not an easy walk. It's a very difficult walk. It's a walk of anxiety. It's a walk of depression. It is a lonely walk, but it's a walk that is worth taking, especially when it comes to finding out answers about your son and about the 29 others that were killed in Extortion 17, not to mention the millions that we have lost since 9/11, between veteran suicide, the over 3,000 that we lost on 9/11 in New York City, all of the you name it, people in this country that are connected to 9/11, and we'll always forever be connected to that day, to that horrible day in our nation's history. So we sincerely appreciate everything you have done and continue to do in the military and veteran community. Your service, sacrifice, and dedication is truly admirable.
Thank you, Brian.
Yes, sir. Until next time, for Tuesdays with Tally, this is Brian Tally. Good night, Semper Fi, and God